This is a sketch for a lecture. Welcome. I'm talking today about visionary creativity, how new worlds are born, and you have my book in your gift bag. So for more details, you can read the book. Bit of background about myself. I studied architecture at the University of Pennsylvania, worked for some interesting offices with Harrison and Abramovitz on the Albany Mall, with Ulrich Franzen on the future of the city. I did environmental sculpture, did a book on the architect Louis Kahn. I'm director of research for an interesting project, Timeship. You'll find us at timeship.org, and our clients intend to be immortal and are doing the research to find the genetic cause of aging and turn it off. And if they don't make it, we're doing the next generation cryonics facility for them. I do MOOCs, massive open online courses at Build Academy. I have a weekly radio show on prn.fm. You'll find my website, Visionary Creativity, and johnlobel.com, in which I blog. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing on Twitter and Facebook, but I'll even talk a little bit about that today. So what is visionary creativity? And we want to start by realizing that most of the discussions are not about creativity. You know, we buy books about creativity, and they're often about mastery, the 10,000-hour things, about innovation, which is important, about ordinary creativity, which may be doing a legal brief or putting together an elegant meal. But visionary creativity exists within a culture and changes the world. So that's what I want to talk about. So we live in cultures. Cultures are meaning systems. Cultures create us, and in a virtuous circle, we create our cultures. Visionary creatives change cultures and thereby bring us new meaning systems, new worlds. And in so doing, they also destroy old worlds. So we're not always sure we're happy about visionary creativity. Visionary creatives swim in the culture of their day and manifest in their work the spirit of their age. The things they create in art, design, science, technology, business, embody that spirit and at the same time restructure our consciousness and pull us into the future. So to understand creativity, indeed to understand ourselves, we need a totally different model of reality than that of the material social sciences. So the books we read on creativity are by sociologists, psychologists. They're not allowed to understand the world. What do I mean by understand the world? Let's look at Jose Ortega y Gasset, who writes, "The reality of history lies in biological power, in pure vitality, in what is in man of cosmic energy." Psychologists can't use the term cosmic energy. How would they measure the cosmic energy in their rats before and after their rats went through their mazes? They're just not allowed to think that way. Not identical with, but related to, the energy which agitates the sea, fecundates the beast, causes the tree to flower and the star to shine. Joseph Campbell writes, "Myth is the secret opening through which the inexhaustible energies of the cosmos pour into cultural manifestations." How do you measure inexhaustible energies of the cosmos in your rats as they're running through mazes? And Van Gogh writes, "Wings, wings to fly above life, wings to fly above the grave and death. That is what we want, and I am beginning to understand that we can get them." Thinking in those kinds of terms, what's the world we live in? What can we say about our emerging 21st century? And I'll talk a bit just about science, but it sort of sets the context in which we're going to be doing our creativity in any field, including fashion. So we start with Bell's theory. You might have heard the term Bell's theorem, and it refers to quantum entanglement. Particles that become entangled, even if they are separated across the universe, reflect each other. You do something to one particle, it changes the other. So the universe is wired up totally differently than the way we've been thought to believe. Lynn Margulies totally dismantles Darwinian evolution and shows that life forms that once seemed discrete are interconnected, exchanging DNA. So evolution is not driven by natural selection, by competition, but by networking. Life took over the world by networking. We spread this DNA from one to another. 90% of the DNA in our bodies is bacterial, and we're spreading it all the time. And then Stephen Wolfram talks about simple rules that build the rich universe in which we live. One of my favorite quotes, he says, "I think when I find the code that generates our world, it will be just about 6 lines." So 6 lines of code can make our entire world. What a way of thinking. How does this affect everything we do? You might have noticed that Jeff Immelt recently announced that any new hires at General Electric have to be able to code. No matter what secretary, sales, of course, engineers have to be able to code because General Electric is becoming a digital company. What does that mean? How do we embody and spread these networking ideas throughout our environment? So let's use an analogy to an image to help understand this, and we'll go back over 100 years to George Seurat's Sunday Afternoon in the Park. And as we all know, the figures in the painting look classical, look solid, but in pointillism, when we zoom in on them, we discover that they're just these dots. They're not solid. So the point I want to make is that the world and we are clusters of interconnected fractal networks computationally generating themselves and each other and us. So today's visionary creatives are natives of this world of clustered, interconnected fractal networks computationally generating themselves and each other. And the things they create in art, design, science, technology, business, make this world apparent to all of us. So I recall my first Macintosh, and I had a modem, so it could connect, but it wasn't often plugged in. It was self-contained. Today, my iPhone is, I try to put a song in iTunes. It tells me I can't do it because I already have it in the cloud. I don't want it in the cloud. I want it on my iPhone so I know I have it. Well, that's not the world we live in anymore. We keep everything in the cloud, and our devices plug into that cloud. So we're networked. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram tie us together in ways that visionary creatives of today, digital natives, are aware of. I can sort of try to understand it, but I look to my students to actually live in this emerging world. And so I think we've only begun to see what Facebook is going to be doing as it connects everything together. Elon Musk's Tesla is not just about a car being electric, not just about they're going to be self-driving, but they're all going to be networked. And so the car won't just know, the self-driving car, the computer in the self-driving car, won't just know that the car in front of us is about to slow down and we better slow down too. It'll know that somebody is finishing breakfast and has on their calendar they're going to take a certain route, and we better take an alternative route because of traffic. We're going to all be tied together. I think we haven't even yet seen what Jeff Bezos is going to be bringing us with Amazon. as it ties everything together. So how do you become a visionary creative? And I was struck by an op-ed in the New York Times a while back by Adam Grant, How to Raise a Creative Child. Step 1, back off. He begins, they learn to read by age 2, play Bach at 4, breeze through calculus at 6, and speak foreign languages fluently by 8. To paraphrase T.S. Eliot, their careers tend to end not with a bang but a whimper. Child prodigies rarely become adult geniuses who change the world. What holds them back is that they don't learn to be original. They don't learn to be creative. So if we want to understand creativity, let's not look to the sociologists and psychologists, but to Friedrich Nietzsche, who speaks of the 3 metamorphoses of the spirit in his Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And he says that first the spirit is a camel, and the camel then becomes a lion, and the lion finally a child. What does he mean by this? The camel kneels down and says, put a load on me. So we begin our careers through our education and mastering the culture in general and the tradition within which we're going to work. So first is mastery. And we look at some of the mega bestsellers talking about creativity. How many people here have a tiger mom? And then we turn to Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, and then to a current very popular book, Angela Duckworth's Grit. But all these books are about mastery. They end with a camel. They don't go further. They're about how to master your discipline. Okay. Woodrow Wilson says, it is the business of a university to impart the right thought of the world, the thought through which it has been tested and established, the principles which have stood through the seasons and become at length part of the immemorial wisdom of the race. Okay, so it's still a camel. What about to question? And if need be, to overthrow the immemorial wisdom of the race. Such questions and overthrowing define visionary creativity. They're not present in the books that we'll find on today's bestseller list, but they're what's important. So the camel then becomes a lion who would conquer his freedom and be master in his own desert. So the lion destroys that tradition which he has mastered. So Beethoven mastered the Viennese Symphony, but then went on to launch Romanticism. Picasso mastered classical painting by the time he dropped out of the academy, but he went on to create something new. Thelonious Monk worked with the jazz greats in the creation of bebop before entering his own world. And Robert Venturi, one of my teachers and father of postmodern architecture, although he doesn't like the term, understood the modernism he attacked better than did his critics before he went on to create something new. For ultimate victory, the lion wants to fight the great dragon. Thou shalt is the name of the great dragon, but the spirit of the lion says, I will. The dragon is the culture you have mastered, and you must destroy your mentors and your teachers and the culture you have mastered in order to create something new. But the lion can't do this. To create new values, the lion is not capable of this. Only to create the freedom that will make it possible to create new values. New values are created by the child. The child is innocent and forgetting a new beginning. The child is a wheel rolling out of its own center. And so at the end of 2001, we have this image of the star child, the new generation of the development of human beings. So what about you? Back to our essay from the Times. They learn to read at age 2, play Bach at 4, but what holds them back is that they don't learn to be original. He goes on in this essay to say, evidence shows that creative contributions depend on the breadth, not just the depth of our knowledge and experience. Relative to typical scientists, Nobel Prize winners are 22 times more likely to perform as actors, dancers, or magicians, 12 times more likely to write poetry, plays, or novels. So he goes on and shows how the people who are truly creative, who change their field, have these great breadths of background. And in fashion, he says, the most original collections come from directors who spend the most time working abroad. So in my book, I look at a rich array of different figures in many fields: scientists and mathematicians, architects, artists, writers, filmmakers, cultural figures, musicians, and people in technology and business. All of these can inspire us. You feel a nascent world struggling to be born. You wonder, what is wrong with others that they do not also feel this? It becomes clear to you what you must create so that others will feel what you feel. They will object, but after they encounter it, they will be changed and they will be in a new world in a new way. So on Leaving Savage Beauty, the show at the Met of the late British fashion designer Alexander McQueen, we read, "This is the birth of a new dawn. There is no way back for me now. I'm going to take you on journeys you've never dreamed were possible." So here's the thought for you. Ask yourself, what is obvious to everyone else but does not seem quite right to you? And then ask, what if? Thank you.